Here we go. Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
All right, guys. Showtime.
Hey, guys. Showtime.
All right, showtime.
All right, showtime.
Hey, showtime.
Showtime, kid.
Let's bring it in. It's showtime, right?
It's showtime. Let's kick some ass.
Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.
Greetings, true believers. Welcome back. The fastest show in sports continues. I am Ed Berliner. I am your host. I am the ringmaster. I am the guy that creates all the chaos, if you will. Joined by the gentleman to my left, to your right, the gentleman in the middle, Mike Wise, formerly of ESPN, the New York Times, the Washington Post. He is, of course, the man, the myth, the legend who travels the world everywhere and now comes to us from Panama, where he is secretly hiding and still part of witness protection. To his left and to my and to your right as well, it is a pleasure to welcome an old friend of mine from the Miami Herald. We have known each other for years, which has to immediately stop how old we are. And yeah, he's just as old. It's just he doesn't look it as well. From the Miami Herald, David Neal joins us. David, it's good to see you again, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Well, every now and then we got to get you in here because, and just in case so people know, we are not going to do all motorsports and hockey. But if David and I were probably to sit down and have beers one day, we might start talking about football, but all of a sudden it would wander down to motorsports and hockey, and life would be good there for a short period of time. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is proper.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, no, I was going to say, can we just get rid of the elephant in the room right away?
Sure.
We have gone against U.S. pop. This is our first black guest on the show. And we were told by the organization, the government, we could not have, and it was anti-DEI. We don't care. We don't care. We're diversity when it comes to this show, aren't we, Ed?
Well, I'm glad.
Our white head.
Mike, you're on your own.
I'm glad you guys are being inclusive, including former hockey reporters.
Well, yeah, look, we actually have done a lot of hockey on this show. And the hockey on social media, the hockey gets great hits. We talked about Brad Marchand, and I called Marchand the best sports story of the year, period, end of story. And we have not talked motorsports because I have found out in my years of covering sports, David, that by talking motorsports on a non-motorsports show, you can actually hear the human clicking on the keyboard going, I'm out of here. Oh, I'm gone.
Yeah,
they're right out.
It's, I think a sign of soccer's growth is that soccer used to be in that echelon also, where as soon as you started talking about it, people just it was either you really get it or you really don't,
right?
And that's the way it was. I think there's more of a middle ground with soccer now. But yeah, I understand that with auto racing, even though I do have to check what time F1 practice is today. Or was today. I've got it recorded.
F1, Formula One, the world-renowned motorsports series that only has 5 people who can win any week on a given week. That's it, just 5, maybe 4.
That's a really competitive year. That's a really competitive year.
Maybe 4.
Of course, as an IndyCar fan, it's a glass house for me over the last couple of years. So. It's Alex Palou and pretty much Alex Palou versus the field.
Yeah, but you got to admit the only thing in this. Well, I'll just say this about Formula One, and we'll move on here because I can already hear the clicks all over the world right now watching this. Formula One.
I was gonna say that will conclude our motorsports section, people. Oh my God,
we've only thing I will say is in Formula One, if you are starting from the 10th row back, you are basically a spectator. You're just hanging out for the rest of the day. You're just trying to see what you can do. You're just grabbing some points. You got no chance to win this race. None.
Nobody wins.
0.
Fourth row back. Yeah.
Nobody
wins from.
Okay,
yeah,
but that's
nobody wins from 7.
But I got to tell you the scenery at a Formula One race is spectacular. Okay, now that we've said that,
it's not the Brickyard. I'll tell you that. I was invited by Joe Gibbs, the coach, the NASCAR owner of the team, and he wanted me to do a story on him. And anyway, I was in the pit. Oh, not in the pit, but the the spotters booth at the Brickyard, and they gave me a headphone. It was so intense, I couldn't even tell you. And at that point, Joey Logano was racing for Gibbs, and he got in a crash, and Gibbs was promoting his book about, he's trying to save every soul in the year, and on the, it was like universe. Basically in the universe, and the book's title was on the, and it just got smashed, and I was like, God doesn't like IndyCar racing or stock car racing. It's just sad.
What everybody does, and okay, wait a minute. Then there's just one more thing we need to say before we move on. And just one more. I'm grabbing it. There's the clicks again. They're all disappearing. When it comes to racing, we have to just say this. And David, you better agree with me on this one. And Mike, if you've ever watched a race, you know this. People watch the races for the wrecks. They watch it either for those last 2 laps, but they wait for the crashes. Come on, David. People want to see the spectacular crash. They want to see the guy or the gal walk away from the crash, and they want to just go, oh, did you see that? He actually walked away from that. They want crashes, David. Come on. Get with it.
Well, the 2014 Indy 500 went 149 laps without a yellow, without a crash. And it is still remembered as arguably the best Indy 500 of this generation. The one crash in this generation of IndyCar that people talk about was the Scott Dixon crash. And the reason they talk about it is you looked at that crash and you thought Scott Dixon was dead. And it happened like almost right in front of us. And the remarkable thing was he walked away from it and was doing an interview out at the medical center 20 minutes later. I mean, I was in the stands and people were screaming, crying. The kid behind us was a huge Scott Dixon fan. He's bawling. No, they were bawling. I've seen somebody die at Indianapolis during qualifying in 1982.
It's tragedy.
It was not,
we are a society that lives on tragedy. It's like we want to see those moments.
The 2024 Indy had happened right in front of us, and by the third one, because the rain delay delayed the start of the race, we were like, okay, guys, come on, let's stop. And what we talked about afterwards, however, was the last 100 miles, 40 laps, completely green, straight racing, and the fantastic finish. I'm sorry, Ed. I've been to 30.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you just. You know what, David just dunked on your anti-motorsports head.
He did.
You just got to realize it. And I only watch motorsports for crazy enough. Scott Dixon stole my girlfriend. I did want to see him die in that crash. It's awful, but no, I'm kidding. That's awful. Too soon. Too soon. Okay, but here's the truth. The truth of the matter.
Ladies and gentlemen, this show does not condone the death of any athlete in any sport whatsoever. We also do not condone men who shave heads, shave other people's heads, decide to go ahead and go after people for shaving heads. We do not condone these things. Please don't send letters. Please don't send emails to fastestshowinsports@gmail.com.
But Ed, we do condone. We go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
No, he has a great sense of humor about that crash. He heard an IndyCar fan was telling him, "Oh, I sit in turn 2," and he said, "Huh, you had a pretty good seat for that wreck, huh?" And she's like, "Oh yeah."
No, the truth is, I actually watched the races for the inbred deliverance women that climb the chain link fences during the races. I call them waffle bellies, and they'll literally their midsection is just a chain link fence engraved in them, and they're like, Dial Jr. Like, get me a gun. Get these women off the face of the earth. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ed.
No, that's okay. That's the perfect capper. Okay, back on track now for the 17 people that are still watching.
Oh, gosh.
It's a good thing we got this thing up in the clip.
David's like, there goes all my motorsports gigs.
All right, we're going to have this. We'll have this conversation one day about tragedy.
That's him.
Yeah. I could be speaking about tragedy, which would lead us to Stephen A. Smith, but that's later. David, as the you know where it's going. David is the new guy on the set here. You get the first shot here as to what is sitting in David Neal's craw today. I can only guess. I got a list. I mean, I come with a list every day, and you can see it's always got a dog on it.
Wow.
But I got a ton of things that I got in here. But you can go ahead and go first, Dave.
What is in my craw today?
What is it? What is it? What is it, Dave, that needs a little more in depth from David Neal?
No, the only thing recently in sports that has gotten on my nerves is, and I used to write about this a lot when I covered sports, and I just think we've gotten, even before I left sports, I thought we got too conscious of it. I really don't, I don't want to hear another thing about TV ratings for the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, the World Series. I mean, I understand. I kind of do want to know like the final numbers. I don't want to know on an absolute game by game basis or this breathless analysis of it. I don't care. When I was watching the Stanley Cup Final, especially the first 4 games, which the first 4 games we were on track for easily the greatest Stanley Cup Final ever. I didn't care if anybody else was watching. Fine. You don't want to watch? That's your business. For whatever reason, if you're a hockey fan, you don't want to watch, you're missing it. You were missing, that was on you. You're missing
Granted.
great final. I don't, I've gotten the point, I don't care who else is watching. If this is sports entertainment, if that sport is entertaining me, if that game is entertaining me, if that race is entertaining me, if that event is entertaining me, and I'm watching it, it's over a number of days or whatever, I've stopped caring how many other people are.
Well, the ratings are only for the bubble-headed bimbos out there, and mostly in television, but certainly in a lot of the print, who simply want something useless to talk about, because ratings don't mean shit anymore. They just don't.
Yeah,
because
they're
of
really measured.
I don't have my phone here. I was going to say I'm going to grab my phone and say this is the reason why the ratings don't make a difference anymore.
Well, there's so many other. David, I'm sorry, David. You're right. There's so many other metrics now to measure interest that have nothing to do with TV. Right? I mean, so many shows are on streaming. So much of a sports interest in a country or a demographic is tied to their digital interest and how many clicks they're getting online. TV ratings are just a small part. The TV ratings are basically for the network contracts and their sponsors. They don't necessarily tell you what's going on with the money that's surrounding the sport like it used to. And the NBA Finals, the NBA Finals, they made a huge deal about for all the small market ugliness, and everybody said this was going to be awful. This is the best finals ratings in 6 years. Well, it could have been LA and Boston. It could have been India. They went to Game 7. So great, good for them. I hope it means that there's a new generation of NBA stars that people care about and like, but it just goes to show you, small market, big market, team that you care about, star power. If you like it, who gives a damn?
If you like it, you watch it. I mean, look, it's like hockey.
If you watch it.
I'm a big hockey fan. I watch hockey. Why? I like it. I don't watch basketball. Why? I don't really care for basketball that much. Soccer, same thing.
You don't like Yeah.
But I'm not a dyed-in-the-wool fan, and not only that, but a lot of the advertisers these days don't care that much about television ratings, and I've had this explained to me before from friends of mine who buy the time, because when you're on social media, when you get on your phone, there are clickable links that you can go to the website, you can go to specials, you can get whatever that they're offering at that point on your phone. Can't do that on television. You can sit there and you can watch the ad and you can put up a QR code. Nobody's got their phone to sit there and go, here, let me put my phone next to the TV so I can get the QR code. But when you're watching it on the phones, you can go anywhere. And the advertiser knows that. You can send them off to any site, any sort of marketing special, any sort of public relations that they're working, any sort of interview, this is where the audience is these days. So that's why ratings are just for people who cover television on the news platforms anymore, and all they want is a liner note or something to sit in there, or the ass clown sitting on another show somewhere who hates hockey and who says, "Oh, this is the reason why hockey sucks in America, is because the ratings are bad and nobody wants to watch it." They don't make all their money off the ratings. It's all it is just claptrap, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the business of gaining audience in sports has so completely changed. And from when, from 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and
from when we were in our prime.
No, but I have gotten
I'm still in my prime.
If I'm enjoying something, if I like it, I'm good. I'm good with you not watching it. Okay, fine. But I find interesting the way, as Ed said, they're advertisers and the smarter sports organizations,
the leagues
have Remember, the NBA was one of the first to really aggressively, go onto social media, get into, because they realized the worldwide reach of it, and the NFL fought it for a while. Then figured, okay, that's crazy. We're standing at the shore, trying to hold back the tide. The NHL followed the NBA quicker, and now one of the things that's interesting to me, and it's interesting to me also because it relates to the overall media business, when you're talking about reaching a younger audience that's, a lot of the so-called legacy media is not reaching.
The younger audience doesn't sit and doesn't look. The younger audience, David, doesn't go home and say, "Oh, the game's on at 8:00, honey. We better be home. We got to get dinner done real early. Let's go out to the restaurant. Let's have a couple of beers. We got to be home by 8:00 for the game." Right. No, they're taking their phone and they're propping it up on the bar, and they're watching it through a link somewhere.
Although I did do it with the big LSU Iowa college women's game with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese a couple of years ago. I had a younger Gen Z, older Gen Z partner on our blog or our podcast, and he's like, "We gotta move the podcast up, man. We got to get it done. Can we do it at 6:30?" I was like, "You want to be done by the game, don't you?" So, "Oh yeah. We got to be done by the game."
Tape it.
No, it is true that they don't watch the same way, and also like the organizations, the World Electric Car Racing Championship, Formula E, has really good reach in the United States for something that has like 22% recognition. But part of the reason they have that reach is they're very incredibly aggressive on all media platforms, streaming, social media, a jillion different streaming networks. They're super aggressive there. And so they're not on any kind of network. I think the closest thing they're on to a network is CBS Sports Network on certain providers. But they get good raw TV numbers, they get good raw online numbers, and they've really grown as a series. And it's kind of interesting to me to watch what they've done and to think, okay, what are they doing? And can we, like say at the Miami Herald, what can we take that and apply it to what we need to do to reach our more of an audience, and especially the younger audience, which is what that series is doing.
It's what everybody wants, is the younger audience. Because
the older audience is going to die. Sorry.
Well,
we are.
Yeah, I mean, the three of us are going to die someday. Thank you, David, very much for bringing everything down here for a couple of minutes. Great job.
But look at our. Yeah,
I'm not going to die.
What are we? What are we?
I'm going to be cryogenically frozen.
What the hell is this? Get off my lawn.
Listen, old man, you don't want to fuck with me.
Did you hear me? I said get off my lawn now.
Yeah, get off my lawn, will you? Hey, look, I want to turn because you mentioned the NBA, but I want to get to that because Cooper Flagg being the first round draft pick and the first pick in the NBA draft for the Dallas Mavericks, everybody expected this. But the thing that really sticks to me and I'm getting sick and tired of is every single time we get a player like this, and I saw this, it was the headline. He is the future of the NBA. He is a once-in-a-lifetime player. Will you please cut the nonsense here? Why is it there's always one that we got to throw this pressure on? We got to call him the next best thing in the NBA. Yeah, he's a great player. He did a lot of great things in Maine. And there's people saying that he's going to lead the Dallas Mavericks. He's 18. I mean, come on. It's not like this is a grown man. But the ridiculous amount of pressure that is shoveled on these players, and Mike, you covered the NBA for a lot of years. I mean, this gets nonsensical at the time. And again, there's more of these bubble-headed experts sitting on social media and all of these different talk shows that have to think that they know something specific and they're experts on it. I know this kid. I've seen this kid play. He's going to be a superstar. Cut the bullshit. Stop with the pressure, please. We don't know what he's going to be, Mike.
Yeah, we don't, but we also, if enough people with a pedigree of having seen a lot of players over the years say this guy is going to be, I don't know if he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I can tell you right now, if he doesn't suffer major injury, he's going to make a lot of all-star teams over the next 10 years. Might not be for a couple years. He's going to, he has the requisite skill set to actually, if not be the first banana on a team that wins a championship, surely be a second banana. I mean, I see Cooper Flagg as no worse than Scottie Pippen, and probably as good as, I don't know, Kevin Durant or any All-Star that over the last 15 years. You know,
but we don't know.
I remember when they put. Yeah, we don't know that, but I said the same thing when they put LeBron James on the cover of Sports Illustrated 16, calling him the chosen one. And I used to also, when I was at the Post, sort of there'd be a big thing, a huge, we are all witnesses with LeBron James holding his arms out, a big billboard in Cleveland. And I went around to a lot of the Baptist churches and go, are you guys okay? Like LBJ's kind of upstaging JC at this point, Jesus Christ. And, that he's the new witness. And, they were politically correct about it, but they were a little bit bothered by it. That's what happens when you get into
a lot of these
LeBron
experts.
James,
they make them think like he's the next coming of God. I mean, that's
but LeBron James in basketball was the next coming of God or Jesus Christ. He was that special. And so is Cooper Flagg that special? I don't know. He reclassified. Can you imagine if Cooper Flagg came out in a year? I mean, can you imagine actually saying, you know what? I was 17 and I was gonna, I think I'll just get out of the NBA. Like, he got out of high school a year early, Ed, to be in the NBA.
I'm not knocking his talent, Mike.
This could be his senior year of high school.
I'm not knocking his talent. He's got a brilliant amount of talent. That's obvious.
Yeah.
But this nonsense that so many people shovel onto the players is he can't miss. He's the future star of the NBA. He's going to lead to 6 championships. He's going to all this. It's nonsense. Right. The problem with it is you've got a fan base out there that buys into that bullshit every single time.
I wonder, what's interesting is he hasn't engendered the racial animus that Caitlin Clark has, because for some reason Etan Thomas, who used to play in the NBA, I've known him for years. I consider myself an amateur Caucasian social justice minister. Well,
we've always thought of you as an amateur Caucasian anyway, so please go ahead.
I was gonna say,
yeah. but Etan Thomas is the real thing. Like he was enlightened, whatever, woke before me or anybody, and he wrote a great column in the Guardian in England recently, basically saying why isn't Cooper Flagg hated like other Duke white players? And he made some great convincing arguments about how his game and his attitude is respected amongst the black community, amongst everybody. But here's my thing. I think part of it, while it hasn't gotten ugly like Caitlin Clark, I think part of it is this guy is the first American-born white player drafted number one since Kent Benson in 78, but from Indiana, or 77 from Indiana. They're saying, like he's the best American-born superstar since Larry Bird. Like, I hate to say it, but people, like we were talking last week, earlier this week, Madison Avenue is like going, you know what? It's one thing to get these Slovenians and these damn Croatians in there, but God dang it, we got ourselves a Maine boy.
See, I tell you what, David, that's exactly what they're doing.
Let's get that white, let's get them white people buying tickets again.
And you and I both know it. That's the way they're looking at it right now. But Mike brings up a good point when he talks about how the racial animus doesn't seem to be here with Cooper Flagg, but when Caitlin Clark came into the WNBA, there was an awful lot of talk about it. But it still comes down to, again, Caitlin Clark was another one who got all that tremendous hype barreled onto her coming in. She earned it. There's no doubt about it coming into the WNBA. And yeah, I think Cooper Flagg has earned these kind of accolades. But can we just back off? I mean, that's it. Let's back off. He's a kid, for crying out loud. Let him play his game. Let him grow into his game. Let him become something really special, and let's enjoy it instead of this hyperbolic nonsense that goes on just because people want to say something. David, you know this is true. There's just people out there going, I just want to make sure I say something about Cooper Flagg and get it on social media.
Right. I mean, that's really part of the problem with our modern media sphere is that, a reasoned take, a measured take on anything isn't heard as easily. I think it's and we see it. We see it politically. Everything is the greatest since
every day.
The best ever, the most destructive ever, the best economy. It's like they're making measured statements. It's almost like there's a concern. How will anybody hear me if I don't speak over the top? And so everybody who's a first overall pick, or especially, let's be straight. If you're a white guy and you're that guy, okay, here it comes, and that's and I think he. And by the way, just dip into why he hasn't gotten the same animus that Caitlin Clark is, because Caitlin Clark I think Caitlin Clark's a little more in your face, trash talking.
She talks some shit.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's why. Look, I'm an Indiana University guy. She killed my team, and with last second shots. Big shots, and had her chest out the whole time, yelling at the crowd, talking to I loved it. I'm like, who is this woman? And then if you watch her game, you learn about her game and that she's not just a scorer, she's got a complete game offensively. And so, that is the type of thing that's going to piss people off.
Well, yeah, she lit up college basketball. Cooper Flagg is a kid who's lit up high school.
And she comes in the league, and also it's Iowa. It's like it's about as white as can be, and she's talking mess, and she's backing it up. Oh, and then she's getting all this money. I mean, it's like I think she would have been resented. I think she would have been resented anyway by a lot, just because it happens in the NBA too. We see it happen in the NBA, especially back when the NBA was not as popular, and there were guys coming in, rookies making serious bucks, and some of the vets not making serious bucks or looking at them like, who the hell are they? There was resentment,
right?
And so you get the same thing here with Caitlin Clark. Plus, it's just the hype, and there was just this resentment, like, who the heck, people, and the players, a lot of the players, some players and coaches are acting like, oh my goodness, people are acting like that, we just began when this young woman came in the league. Other people, I thought it was interesting that Dawn Staley, after they beat Iowa for the title last year, Staley mentioned, hey, I think she's handled this as well as it can be handled. I really appreciate it and everything. Why? Because Dawn Staley knows she's not on that Aflac commercial with Mike Krzyzewski without Caitlin Clark.
Thank you.
And so, she's like, hey, she's one of those going, hey, we all making money because of this young woman. Y'all need to stop.
Yeah. Maybe that's a difference, though, because Caitlin Clark comes into the WNBA, and she comes in with all the college accolades behind her, and everybody knew that she was an exceptional player coming in. So she was prepared to take a lot of this heat. And you could tell by her attitude and the way she carried herself on court, and the way she carries herself on court right now, she doesn't take any crap from anybody. And I love that about her. That's why I love watching her. Cooper Flagg's an 18-year-old kid. Cooper Flagg's an 18-year-old kid. Let him grow, for crying out loud. Stop throwing all this on him. Because if he bails, if something happens and Cooper Flagg doesn't become the next thing since great toast in the NBA, people are going to hammer him. Oh, we all knew this kid was going to suck. He was too young. People got all over him. It's just unfair. Stop that's all I'm saying. Caitlin was ready for it. Cooper's not ready for it.
And she spent 4 years.
Cooper's not ready for it. Wait. Cooper's not ready for it.
No.
He just got into a scrimmage with the Olympic team last summer at 17 years old, and Braun and Durant, all these guys from the team came up to him and go, you know what? These are the things you got to look for. These are things you got to. They were so impressed, and they knew that he was going to be a decent pro that they were giving him tips. This guy is going to be fine, Ed. Every level he goes to, he understands it. He's a and part of me is like, I hope he's not a programmed robot like so many of these kids that are media trained now and don't want to speak their minds. I think this guy is on a mission, and he's on a mission to be a very good, if not great, NBA player. And
one of the best
Cooper
things
Flagg
he can
to me
do,
is a guy.
And one of the best things he can do is shut his mouth, stay off social media, play the game, do your job. And that's another issue here right now, because you have too many of these players that get up there and want to get in everybody's face on social media. If Cooper Flagg is smart, and I think he is, or there's going to be somebody on his side being smart for him, you stay the hell off social media, play basketball, and become a better player. That's what he needs.
Well, they told me to stay off social media, and look
they
where
were
it got
right.
me. Okay, so yeah, you're right. They were. I'm sorry.
I think it's I think to a generation that was raised with social media, to a generation that and that sees, they're very conscious in Gen Z that, the loyalty that companies and teams and everything ask of you will not be returned. And so they are very conscious that, when they talk about building their individual brand, it's not just out of, some it's out of a selfishness, but it's out of an understood selfishness that, hey, I'm on this team right now. I'm do the best I can for this team, but, this team can trade me. This team can, I can't, my identity can't only be with this team. There has to be there's a Cooper Flagg separate from Dallas. There's Dallas Mavericks Cooper Flagg, and then there's Cooper Flagg. He's very conscious of that. And so every player's conscious of that. That's why a lot of them are on developing themselves.
But is he conscious of that, David, at 18 years of age?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, David. David, you're right. He is. And he is. And you know what, Ed? You know what else, Ed? There is a Mike Wise separate of the fastest show in sports. Okay? I might have to personally brand myself at this point.
Bring it on.
Because you don't respect us. You don't respect us.
Put your cowboy hat back on.
Okay, I'll get it later.
It was one of the biggest things that came out of the show earlier this week. Everybody saying, nice lid. Very, very nice, dude. You did a good job on that. So, you can always bring back the hat. Now, but there's another issue that comes up here, and it kind of dovetails a little bit. And I've been really wanting to ask this question, but now that we have the good group together, this is one of the most vexing questions I have ever come across in sports in my career. Why does everybody hate Duke? Why is it every time I see something on Duke, and I've seen it again this week. Duke sucks. There's a couple of websites that are out there that always hit it. Every time they talk about something good that happens at Duke, the last words, Duke sucks. I'm trying to figure that out. That kind of dovetails from college basketball to the NBA. Why do people think Duke sucks all the time?
Yeah.
Well, I'm biting my glasses right now like Brian Gumble on Real Sports, and I'm thinking to myself deeply, why does Duke suck? This is another anti-DEI thing, Ed. We've got to stop saying Duke sucks. That rich white people have had it really tough for the last 250 years in this country. We've barely gotten any breaks, and when we get to systematically go to the best schools and get into a university like Duke, or our generational wealth has allowed us to afford Duke without an athletic scholarship, we should be celebrated for that, Ed. We should not be hated for it. Shut up! It's rich white people, Dad. It's rich. Nobody likes filthy rich white people anymore. Not even me, and I am white.
And you are rich.
Duke is
rich. I'm in Panama. Damn it.
I mean, yeah, Duke is it's.
I mean, it's politically correct to make fun of them. If you've got everything, if you've got everything in the world, it's like at this point, it's like being a Kardashian. Like, yeah, I can't. What can I say? The Kardashians don't have a lot of talent. Well, obviously they have marketing talent. Obviously they've got their own lines of perfume. They've turned the social media world into their own empire. Like, what am I going to say about them? The only thing I can say about them is anybody who dates them has a worse career because it's not the Kardashian curse. It's like going out with somebody more famous than you. It's dangerous. That's why I will never date Madonna. Like, if we ever go over an embankment, they'll say Madonna and her lover careened over an embankment. Nobody will ever know who I am.
Or they'll just say Madonna and her driver.
Madonna and her driver careened over an embankment. And like, so what I'm saying is, that's why I'm great in these big rooms of people. Like, oh God, if I go into the hospitality room media, it's like, oh, it's Wise. I'm like big shit. If I go to like the Oscars or the Grammys, I'm nobody. I'll never go to the Oscars and Grammys. Why? Because I don't like being the least famous person in the room.
It's stunning how we've gone from why people hate Duke, David, to all of a sudden Mike attending the Academy Awards. You have to understand, there are occasionally Mike goes off on these delusions of grandeur every now and then that are just brilliant. I mean, just brilliant.
Yeah, Duke. I mean, Duke. I think Duke Power, the bad guys in Harlan County, USA. I mean, and it's the same people.
That's good. That's a great analogy.
It's their money. It's like Leland, Stanford, Vanderbilt. All these private schools that, were built to kind of legitimize very rich people who got rich, sometimes not through the most humane means. And,
boy, you danced around that one beautifully. You and Fred Astaire are gonna put out
Bill Bojangles'
beautiful highlight reel.
There'll be no talk of what our ancestors did to your ancestors on this team, on this show, David. Like, this is oh my God, this is another thing. I know we could go into political all we want, but the whole, your past counts, America. Your past counts.
What the hell is this?
Get up.
Get off my lawn.
Listen, old man, you don't want to fuck with me.
Did you hear me? I said get off my lawn now.
That's right. Just for you, Mike.
That's hilarious.
And also the Duke Carolina rivalry is often characterized. That summed up very well years ago, decades ago now, I guess, by North Carolina, the public university. They had Dean Smith as coach, who basically forcibly integrated eventually the ACC and used his juice in that manner. Duke, They're the small private school. The kids of the one percenters. They had Mike Krzyzewski, who speaks at more for more conservative causes and for more conservative audiences. That's fine, but that's how the kind of contrast you have. And so, who really roots for the rich kids? Really? I mean, we didn't do that in Meatballs. I mean, come on.
There's apparently a lot of people who do.
Real quick, Ed. David makes a great point, and there was a great documentary put out by the documentary and former big New York PR guy, Dan Flores, who represented Leona Helmsley back in the day. But anyway, Dan Flores made the Reggie Miller 30 for 30 documentary. He also made the 10-part basketball documentary, which didn't get enough love. And he also made a thing called Black Magic that a lot of people haven't seen, but it's basically about the contributors, African-American contributors to the game early on and also throughout the ages. And he gets into how Billy Packer, when he was at Wake Forest, integrated and how Dean Smith integrated the ACC and how important that was in this is Tobacco Road now. This is the Old South that actually embraced it, and Duke just went on its way and did not embrace it, but always had the irritating white player on their roster. Cooper Flagg's not that guy, but certainly Grayson Allen was that guy. Bobby Hurley was that guy back in the day. Oh my God, Wojciechowski! I wanted to smack him, and I liked Duke. They were just irritating. They were little annoying gnats in your ear, and they were the what do you call it? Politically correct white guys you could make fun of.
So then, if we already know that Duke is the team that everybody hates, I'm going to bring this then up because I saw this just the other day. We're out last night having dinner. TV's on, and of course it's on ESPN because everybody else and the clowns in the bar want to watch sports. And there was Michael Wilbon, and the lower third graphic said, "Is Dallas a contender?" Why in the name of sweet Jesus does every discussion have to go down to the Dallas Cowboys? I mean, this is another one of those issues about the sports media. Who cares? I mean, ESPN has got this stiffy for whatever reason for the Dallas Cowboys, and everything is about why are the Dallas Cowboys not a contender? Why do they win a Super Bowl? Why do we care? They're not even relevant to the conversation, and they haven't been for years.
Just really quick, and I'll let David jump in on this. He'll know more than me because was at the Miami Herald forever. He's been in Miami Herald forever. I would say that, you were in radio, Ed, for many years, and I guess you could say you're in it now, even though you're making less money. I would say that.
Thanks, Mike.
I would say.
Thanks, Mike. Tell everybody. Go ahead.
I would say this, Ed. You play the hits, right? You play the hits. And Dallas Cowboys, the New York Yankees, Notre Dame, Duke, those are the hits in sports. And you play those, and it's lazy. It's lazy. Caters to Steve. It caters to Stephen A's world, which is, if you got something of interest. And I remember talking to Adrian Wojnarowski, who I've known forever, and about this. But I remember telling it when I was at ESPN for a few years. I said, this undefeated thing, I don't know if it's going to get off the ground. I go, you got any advice? And he said, just write about important athletes, like write about big stars. And I didn't because I thought I didn't, they're boring to me unless I find something original about them or they open up to me like nobody has. I'm more interested in the story that's sort of beneath the story, but there was some, had I listened to him, God forbid, I'd probably be there, and I think
like
that's what it's about. Cowboys, you play the hits.
The Dallas Cowboys were big when they were America's team, 70s and 80s. They haven't been relevant to a Super Bowl conversation now in how long? A couple of decades by the time it's done? Sure, occasionally everybody will start and go, they're close, but they're not. So when you're talking about playing the hits, You said the word. It's lazy. But do people really want to hear about the Dallas Cowboys, or is that just a matter of the media saying, I got to say something really stupid and outrageous and blatheringly idiotic out there, so let's bring in the Dallas Cowboys one more time because it's easy. We don't have anything else intelligent to talk about. I mean, that's what gets me all the time.
I think it's more a case of that, especially if you're Wilbon's age, which is a little older than all of us. You forget how fast time has passed, how much time has passed since the Dallas Cowboys really were in that conversation, and so you feel like, this is recent, right? And like, no, the kids the kids being drafted in April don't remember Dallas being a serious Super Bowl contender, because the last time they were, those kids were babies. It was like 2007, 2008.
Or they weren't even born.
And,
no, but they had some very good. They've had some very good teams, like where people, if not predicted them to win the Super Bowl, predicted them to be in like the NFC Championship, or with Dak and Ezekiel Elliott, and so I mean they won. I think they had a couple 12-win seasons. So I don't. Here's what I think it is, real quick. And Wilbon is a great place to start because Wilbon, God bless him, my friend, my colleague. Even if he does look like a little turtle head coming out of his suit now on ESPN some days, I think that Wilbon had a great point about the Cowboys back in the day, which was, look, the reason why there are so many Cowboy fans in D.C., because they didn't because they learned from their fathers and their grandfathers that the Cowboys had black players on their teams when the Washington Native Americans didn't, and the Washington was the last team to integrate in the NFL, and black people in Washington remember that, and so they and not only that, they had a huge following over the years. And then the second part of that is, Ed, it's like maybe you telling a relative like, oh, you don't know what the Kennedys were like, or Martin Luther King were like there's things that sort of are passed down in your family.
Mike, you're reaching.
If your grandfather was the last person to see the Cowboys win a Super Bowl, or your father was the last person to win a Super Bowl, that's already in you, and you know that, and you're sort of waiting for it to happen again, irrespective of if it's not going to happen again.
Come on, you can't make this a reaching.
I am reaching. You told me the only way this show was going to work is if we were provocative and made up shit. Come on.
Well, there it is, making up shit. It's this whole thing about what. Go ahead, Dave.
No, both Mikes needed to have their deltoids massaged before they made that reach, because they will pull them. Making that reach about why there are so many Dallas fans in Washington. I think it's just because they were those two teams clashed so incredibly over
rivalry.
Well, they were a rivalry that CBS Sports turned into America's rivalry.
Right, but if you didn't like the Redskins, or if you got sick of Washington, if you were there,
we can't use that word on our show.
Our word, right? If you were there and you didn't like them, who were you gonna like? The arch rival.
Yeah.
So I think that's
true.
I think when it comes to playing the hits, and I remember saying this back when I was covering the Panthers.
Lazy.
It is. Somebody had to write the first story on John Elway. Somebody had to write the first story on Patrick Waugh. Somebody had to write the first story on a lot of these things. And you're right, Mike. I tried to take the approach. I remember the first time I remember having this discussion was writing about a Buffalo Sabres player named Donald Audette, who was a good NHL player, above average NHL player. He killed the Panthers. He averaged a goal a game against the Panthers. It would be 0-0 Panthers Sabres, and we're like, yeah, it's actually 1-0 because Audette hasn't scored yet. And after a while I was like, okay, who is this guy? Who is this guy who always kills the team that I cover, that my readers, most of my readers are fans of this team. Who is this guy who's killing your team? And I remember somebody else saying, nobody knows about him. Well, that's the point. That's the point. That's why I need to write about him. And so I hear I've heard the same thing from the local sports columnists that, yeah, you know what, it's the Dolphins aren't always the most interesting story in town. There's really sometimes nothing new to write about them, but sometimes they get lazy.
It's the
And they're like, okay,
Dolphins.
I can spend an extra effort and finding something new to write about any number of things around this town, or I can write another Dolphins need to do this, or can the Dolphins do that column. Okay, I'll write the Dolphins.
Well, see, from a local standpoint, though, David, I mean, the people in Dallas, Fort Worth, yeah, they want to cover the snot out of the Dallas Cowboys because that's what the people care about. In Miami, they want to cover the Miami Dolphins because the people care about it.
But
neither the Cowboys nor the Dolphins are relevant to any kind of a Super Bowl race this year. Neither one of them are that good. They're all just there because we're living on past reputations. Certainly, the Dolphins aren't worth it.
I understand
that,
but it's
Ed, you're past.
The same thing. You're being late. You're doing something. You're writing a Dolphins column that says really nothing new and has no new insight. Why? Because it's the easiest thing to do. It's the same.
But it's easy for the local audience.
Is the doubt right? It is a local. It's still lazy, and it still means to me like it's okay, fine. You might be able to. You may not get the same number of hits these days, traffic, but by doing this other thing, but there's something more there, and you might do better work, and you might, for Pete's sake, you might find something that you go back to. To me, it's the same thing. You're being lazy. You're right. In a local sense, you're never going to lose with that. But in a national sense, also, you might not lose. I have not looked at the merchandising sales for a long time. I remember when the Patriots were number one for a while. But Dallas has spent most of the last 40, 50 years, in that one or two or three area, and either they're the most loved, and conversely, like the Patriots, now they've spent the last, many years in the most hated.
Look, the Dallas Cowboys are only important to an NFL conversation right now so that people can watch and see how Jerry Jones can screw them up again. It has become that's all it really is, and the whole soap opera about Dak Prescott is nonsense too. It doesn't mean anything to the conversation.
Yeah, but you can say that all you want, Ed, okay? You can say that all you want. You can go off on that. There is not a Netflix special on the Baltimore Ravens cheerleaders, okay? There's not a Netflix special.
Don't give him an idea. That'll probably be next.
On the women, there's not a Netflix special on the women of the Seattle Seahawks. The Dallas Cowboys have a cheerleader show on Netflix. Damn it.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue that point, but I'm saying when I look up and when it's June, for crying out loud, and this is a national show that supposedly has some kind of relevance to it, is talking about the Dallas Cowboys being a contender. Is that the best you can do? Really?
Yeah. Well, it's lazy. It's the middle of summer too. Personally, I'm waiting for the Little League World Series where they exploit 12-year-olds on television and watch them cry and have all this trauma that lasts a lifetime. And ABC and Disney make money off of it. It's a wonderful show.
Yeah.
Next thing he's going to be going back to the Bad News Bears.
Did you ever see the 30 for 30 on the 1982? Like that, was it Washington State or the team that broke the Taiwan dynasty? That was fascinating to hear about.
It was awesome
to hear what happened to them afterwards. It was what you said. It was like even though they won, all it did was really kind of set them up for this kind of really rough next few years that took away a lot of childhood.
So let's not be lazy then, and let's look at something that is truly a national crisis, if you will, that I thought about. The New York Times.
Oh, Pete Hegseth? We're going to talk about Pete Hegseth today?
No. We're not going to talk about a blithering bubblehead. Yeah, look at Dave. Please, God, no. Please, let's not go there. Let's not start that. No, that's another show I do, Mike. Yeah. That's not for this one. I'm with you. The New York Times has issued a list of the best 100 movies of the 21st century. Now, usually movie conversations are not that important, but I bring this up because it is now 2025, and with all the films that have come out in the top 100, there is only one sports film. Just one since the turn of the century. Now,
I know what it is.
I immediately came up with 5 different sports movies I thought should be in there. And one of them I thought absolutely would make it. And I was a little surprised. Mike, your guess?
I just because of the popularity and the marketing, and even though like I think the author makes stuff up at this point, Blindside.
Okay, sports movie.
Well, it kind of was a sports movie, Blindside. You know about the that was a sports movie. It was about the offensive tackle for. But so that would be my guess. I'm obviously wrong. Go ahead, David.
Okay,
Your
David.
Guess.
Man, I'm having a tough time coming up with sports movies in the 2000s.
See, that's okay. That's part of the point. But there's one that just actually there's 2 sports movies since the turn of the century that I immediately go to that were just beautifully crafted films. I'll get to in a moment. Go ahead, Dave.
Miracle.
I could tell you which one. Miracle. That's what I would do. The best one.
Miracle was not 21st century. Miracle was pre 2000.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
Miracle was 2004. Miracle was 2004.
Miracle, the hockey movie?
Yes.
That was a 90s movie.
2004.
No.
Okay, I gotta go check.
No, Miracle. I know the guy who made the movie, the producer. I know him, Mark. What's his name? I'm trying to talk him into doing my Billy Mills movie. It was 2004. Ed, go look it up.
Okay,
it's easy.
okay.
You can look it up online right now.
Then let's put that in the conversation. Then, but that one isn't even listed.
In a movie theater. So that place was going nuts because half the team was from Minnesota as well as Herb Brooks.
Okay,
it was All-Star weekend.
I didn't even think of it as a 21st century movie. Completely bad. Yeah. So, David, what's your guess?
Okay, so with that out, I'm kind of dry on it. Man.
I'll give you a hint. Baseball. Baseball.
Jackie
42?
Robinson?
No.
42.
Major League 8?
Yeah.
Moneyball.
What?
Moneyball.
You know, Moneyball was up for Best Picture. That movie doesn't. You know what that movie does? It doesn't stand the test of time.
Moneyball came in 45th.
The A's have still not won the championship, and now they're playing in Sacramento. So obviously, Moneyball didn't work out for them.
Out of the top 100 movies of the 21st century, 45th. Now,
idiots.
Okay, you both brought up Miracle, but I'm bringing up 2 other films that should be in there. $1 Million Baby was a brilliant film. Brilliant. And Mickey Rourke's performance
wasn't really a sports movie.
Sure it was.
I mean, it was a life movie with the prism, using sports as a prism.
Well, don't most sports movies use that one way? Even Miracle used that as a life lesson for a lot of the guys. And that's the backbone of Hollywood. But $1 Million Baby.
Yeah, you know what, Ed? Ed, I'm sick of you bringing facts and using logic and ruining my half-baked takes. It's got to stop on the show.
I have to stop doing that. I know that, Mike. I'm trying to work on that. I promise. Sometime in the next 2 years, I'll work on that heavily. The other one is there was never a performance turned in better than Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler, which was brilliant.
I feel bad now. I didn't see that.
Oh, I mean, Rourke is the washed-up wrestler that is trying desperately to deal with the fact that his career is coming to an end. And nobody plays a downtrodden, nearly intoxicated, over-steroided mess than Mickey Rourke. I mean, he nailed it. But I came up, and there's another one, and I'll give you another one, really, that should be in there. David, I'm surprised that you would come up with this one right away. Ford versus Ferrari. with Matt Damon and Christian Bale was
Didn't see
an
it.
excellent film.
Yeah,
Maybe not
really
the
good.
best, but here's the top 5 that they put in there. The number 5 is Moonlight, which is a film shot in Miami, which deals with the coming of age of a young man growing up and learning who he really is. Number 5. Number 4, which I swear to God, I have no idea where this, and I'm a movie guy. I'm a SAG guy. In the Mood for Love, which I never heard about. Number 4. Number 3, There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis, which is a gripping film about an oil baron basically running roughshod over everybody. Number 2, Mulholland Drive, which is one of the great film noir movies of our generation.
Oh my God!
Brilliant!
Oh my
film.
God! Oh my God! I don't believe I agreed to do a show with a guy who loves David Lynch. I do not believe I did that.
If you haven't seen Eraserhead, you're missing something. And the number 1 film that is the best of the 21st century was Parasite. And
Parasite was very good. I see. The weird thing is, I had kids. I started having kids in 2010, and then literally Paw Patrol became a movie for me, and so like I was in dad world, and so I didn't see a lot of the best films of the last 15 years. But I can tell you this: Parasite was very good. I thought it was excellent, and the movies coming out of South Korea now are unbelievable. But I guess I would say, I mean, going back to sports movies and everything, I mean, Miracle was every player you speak to, everybody involved in that experience, including the Soviets, say that was as close to reality as they'd ever seen on the silver screen. And so the fact that that's not the top sports movie in that 100 is ridiculous.
Well, I guess my whole point in this is out of the top 100 films of 25 years, there's only one movie that's there that really did not deal with athletics on the field. I mean, in Million Dollar Baby, you had actual boxing. In The Wrestler, you had actual wrestling. In Miracle, you had actual hockey. But in Moneyball, it's all about a front office guy, Billy Beane, changing the way that baseball is run. Guys, we're in an era when there's not a lot of great sports movies being made anymore.
No.
That's going to change. That's going to change. The Billy Mills movie is going to be excellent.
Because it's your movie, right?
Well, it's right.
Okay.
It's right.
But I'm just saying there's not a lot of great, I don't know if you were to look ahead to the great stories out there, you know, Caitlin Clark will probably have a movie made about her with what she's done and how she's...
Well, what's it going to be called? What's it going to be called? Pigtailed Girl from Iowa that shoots from the parking lot? Come on, Ed.
Here's the problem. Elbow in your teeth. But I mean, if there's one person,
problem.
Okay, wait a minute. If there's one person, we'll close out with this. If there's one person you can think of or one event you can think of in sports that deserves a movie that would be perfect, can you think of one right off the top of your head? One event?
I can.
One person? Other than Billy Mills.
One event and one person I want to see, and it would have to be a brutal takedown. I mean, you would obviously show the brilliance of the guy too, and the rise of the event. But what has taken over America and society, for that matter, outside of America, is sanctioned violence. Dana White and the UFC is one of the scariest things in my lifetime. Not because there aren't great athletes there, not because that, you know, mixed martial arts have usurped so many other stories and gave, you know, more entertainment options for us. And not because I'm an old boxing guy from the 80s who got my start at this little paper covering small time fights. I just think that there's success, there's ugliness, there's so much said about our country and our society with Dana White and the UFC that would be my movie if I was going to pitch one to.
I think that's a fair. That's an interesting story, certainly to look into it, and how Dana White and the UFC has had a tremendous effect on a certain generation of males in America.
Yeah. Oh, Gen Z would buy it up because that's who goes and sees it.
Wow. I have a hard time. There's, I don't know. There's already been a documentary on. There's something about the 2022 World Cup. There's already been a documentary on how Qatar wound up with it, but there's something there about the contrast of the conditions that the stadiums were built under, the deaths of the workers, and the contrast with the excellence of the soccer being played, and climaxing with an incredible final that was.
Well, you do know if you want to create a movie about graft and greed and power, all you got to do is put FIFA in there, and you can put FIFA, the old NCAA when it was actually worth something, and maybe even the NFL and the IOC.
It's also where the most popular American soccer journalist died of a heart ailment out of the blue.
Yeah.
Grant. God, what's Grant's last name?
Grant Wall. He was he was an intern at the
Grant Wall, yeah. I know Grant Wall. Every time I'd see him at an event, whether I was going to DC United, the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, he really was.
Grant used to be on our show a lot of our radio shows. He stopped by from time to time. So, but anyway, we'll have to work on the next big sports movie. Do yourself a favor, if you haven't seen it, see The Wrestler. And not only that, but I have another reason too, because it has one of the great Bruce Springsteen tunes ever as part of the movie. If you're a Springsteen guy, you got to see it.
All right, like we don't have enough boss in our lives. Okay, all right, whatever, Ed.
Reminder once again, you can catch us on the YouTube channel, Fastest Show in Sports. You catch shorts, you catch clips, you catch segments. Make sure to go to wherever you get your audio podcast. We're on Podbean is where we are our master control, but you can get us on any podcast anywhere in America, anywhere around the world. Just look for Fastest Show in Sports. David, keep writing great stuff in the Miami Herald, and come back as often as you want. And one day, I promise you, we'll do a motorsport show. Well, okay, we'll do a motorsport 5 minutes.
15 minutes. We need to do one that people can watch during the yellow flags.
Well, okay. Well, then what we'll have to do, we'll have to make up like a 1 minute version, a 5 minute version, a 10 minute version. We'll have to make sure we got. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, Mike.
No, as I say goodbye to everybody, I want them to show them downtown Panama City, and I want to tell you that this show is killing me, and if I have to jump, it's 38 floors. All right, there you go.
Well, now that we know. Hey, Mike, just do me a favor. If you do anything like that, I want your last words to be Fastest Show in Sports on YouTube. If you do that, you're gravy.
Get the shot.
Right. Get the shot so we can use it. We have to go viral. For Mike Wise, for David Neal, I'm Ed Berliner. Thanks for watching, everybody. Till we see you next time on the Fastest Show in Sports. Rock on, true believers. See ya.
That's all, folks.